It's not very good, is it? And I mean, that's putting it mildly. What's been so interesting is I regarded the advent of With Love Meghan rather like I regarded root canal surgery. It's one of those things that you know it's coming. You really don't want...
Yes, finally. Yes, hallelujah. I always have to give a preamble to whenever I talk about Meghan and Harry and say, I don't know them, I'm not haters, I don't care. But I think the way they have taken their 2 days, because they were really working royals for basically...
You know that feeling when you've been dreading something, and when it finally happens, it's somehow worse than expected? That's what With Love Meghan felt like. From a moment it was announced, it carried the energy of a project no one really asked for, but still got served. Watching it was like being stuck in a dentist chair, knowing the drill is coming. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't heartfelt. It was awkward. Meghan Markle entered the scene with royal glow and Hollywood sparkle, but the show didn't reflect either. Instead, it felt like a brand rehab disguised as culture appreciation. The irony? For someone who once claimed she wanted privacy, she's now on global streaming platforms tossing around curated monologues and Pinterest-level recipes. The vibe wasn't, let's explore the world through food. It was, let's fix my image one overly rehearsed moment at a time. And people felt that. Hard. This wasn't a warm welcome into cultural kitchens. It was more like walking into a showroom where everything looks pretty, but nothing works. Let's be real. The idea had potential. A former royal connecting with cultures through storytelling and cooking? That sounds like something that could work if done right. But this wasn't it. From a jump, With Love, Meghan felt forced. It was too shiny, too rehearsed, too disconnected from the heartbeat of what it was supposed to represent. And the audience? They noticed. First, watching Meghan pretend to be mesmerized by spices she can't pronounce or nod along to deep cultural stories without real emotion felt off. It didn't feel like someone discovering. It felt like someone performing. This wasn't vulnerability. It was branding. And the storytelling? So flat, it could have been a corporate onboarding video. We live in a world where audiences crave realness. We want raw, messy, emotional, not carefully sculpted sound bites designed to protect a public image. Meghan didn't just miss the mark. She refused to even aim for it. And when a project feels more like a PR campaign than a human experience, people tune out. Quickly, now let's talk about the kitchen, because here's where it really unraveled. Cooking is sacred in most cultures. It's not just food. It's memory, tradition, identity. So when Meghan rolled into global cuisine with a Pinterest aesthetic and a few buzzwords, viewers weren't just bored, they were offended. One minute she's plating a dish, next she's monologuing about empowerment, and somehow it all feels hollow. Pretzel bags with personalized names? That's not cultural immersion. That's influencer merch disguised as heart. And real chefs noticed. A renowned Italian chef called the show a parody of cultural respect. In Nigeria, a food blogger went viral for calling it a glamorous mess. Because here's the truth, you can't fake your way through food. Audiences know when something is authentic and when it's not. Meghan's cooking scenes felt more like a branding exercise than a culinary journey. And the result? A show that tried to feed us meaning, but served microwave-level depth. To be fair, Netflix tried. They gave her the stage, the spotlight, and a truckload of resources. But when the numbers tanked and the backlash mounted, they didn't panic. They tried to help. Behind the scenes, execs offered feedback, tried to reshape the narrative, and gave Meghan every chance to pivot. But here's where it gets tricky. Word is, Meghan wouldn't budge. She had her vision and refused to tweak it, even when it wasn't working. That's the problem with total control. When things fall apart, there's no one else to blame. Netflix, a platform that thrives on performance, started bleeding subscribers. And when people say they're canceling their accounts because of your show, that's not just a flop. That's a failure of trust. In Hollywood, that's the kiss of death. Meghan had every opportunity to listen, adapt, and grow. But instead, she doubled down on perfection. And the audience? They walked away. Here's the thing. Branding only works when it's backed by substance. And Meghan's brand? It started to feel like a glossy package with no real product inside. Her problem isn't being in the spotlight. It's what she's doing with it. American audiences are tired of the over-curated everything. It's like watching someone smile in every photo, but never actually say anything meaningful. People want connection, not campaign slogans. They want real stories, not PR filter versions. Meghan's transition from underdog duchess to polished media figure has been anything but smooth. The more she tries to control the narrative, the less people relate to it. That's the irony. The tighter she holds the mic, the less anyone wants to hear what she's saying. At some point, being Meghan Markle became more important than being a person. And when the brand takes over the human, audiences start to check out. This wasn't just another show that didn't hit the mark. This was a full-on warning siren. With Love, Meghan was supposed to be a celebration of culture, food, and connection. Instead, it became a case study in how not to engage an audience. And that's the real kicker. People didn't just dislike it. They felt disappointed. The opportunity was huge, the platform massive, the attention already baked in. All Meghan had to do was show up as a human. But she showed up as a brand. What could have been her eat, pray, love moment turned into something closer to smile, wave, repeat. The show didn't spark inspiration, it sparked frustration. Meghan had the rare chance to do something deeply personal and universally powerful, but instead, it came off as a lifestyle photo shoot with a script. And that's when it became clear this wasn't about sharing stories. It was about managing optics. And once the audience catches on to that, there's no going back. One bad project? That's unfortunate. Two major platforms, cutting ties? Now, that's a reputation shift. With Love, Meghan wasn't the first time Meghan Markle overpromised and underdelivered. Remember Archetypes, her much-hyped podcast with Spotify? The media rollout was loud, the PR was slick, and expectations were sky-high. But then the content dropped, and it was fine. Just fine. Not groundbreaking, not memorable. And that's a problem when your entire brand is built around being a trailblazer. Behind the scenes, Spotify execs reportedly weren't just disappointed. They were done. They hinted she didn't meet the content quota. They questioned the originality. And they walked away. That's not just a lost deal, it's a warning to others. Now fast forward to With Love, Meghan, and Netflix followed suit. Quietly but firmly. That's two of the biggest players in the streaming space saying, this isn't working. And Hollywood took notice. Because in this industry, reputation moves faster than a trending tweet. When platforms start distancing themselves, producers get nervous. Studios pause deals. Agents stall calls. Meghan, once a guaranteed headline, is now a gamble. The star power is still there, but the question is, does it mean anything anymore? There was a time when her name alone could get a green light. Today, it gets a long meeting, followed by a "we'll circle back." This is what happens when attention doesn't turn into impact. Meghan draws eyes, sure, but eyes don't equal engagement, and they definitely don't guarantee success. And here's the brutal truth. Hollywood runs on results, not royalty. You can have a crown, a platform, and a press machine, but if you can't deliver, you're out. That's the freeze-out Meghan's feeling now. Not public exile, just quiet exits, missed calls, and projects that mysteriously don't move forward. Fame is powerful, but it's not a personality. It can get you in the room, but it can't keep you there. And that's where Meghan Markle is stuck. She's famous, yes. She's talked about, watched, dissected, defended. But fame alone has stopped working in her favor. Why? Because the audience has changed. We don't want polished. We don't want rehearsed. We want real. And what Meghan's been serving feels less like authenticity and more like brand management. Look at the arc. She went from being the woman who escaped the palace to someone who can't stop trying to package that escape. Every project has felt like a glossy brochure for her own reinvention. And it's exhausting. For viewers, for collaborators, and probably even for Meghan herself. Because here's the hard part. When people start sensing you're performing vulnerability instead of living it, the magic's gone. It becomes hard to connect. Hard to trust. Audiences crave imperfection. That's what makes people feel human. But Meghan hasn't embraced that. Everything is edited, curated, PR ready. And that disconnect is what's starting to wear thin. People aren't rejecting Meghan because of who she is. They're rejecting the version of her that feels untouchable, unreachable, overly packaged. The glossy smile, the perfect lighting, the camera-ready monologues. They're beautiful, sure, but they're not relatable. They don't feel like her. And when the product doesn't feel like the person, people tune out. Slowly, quietly, but definitely. That's what we're seeing now. Meghan isn't being canceled. She's being skipped. And in media, that's worse. Attention fades fast. And once the audience disconnects emotionally, it's nearly impossible to pull them back in. Unless you get real. Meghan still has the chance to do that. But it means dropping the script, dropping the act, and letting people meet the woman behind the image. Because right now, fame isn't enough. It's just noise without meaning. Here's the part no one tells you. The harder you try to control the story, the less people believe it. That's the trap Meghan Markle has fallen into. She spent years trying to define her public image. Strong, graceful, empowered, misunderstood. And on paper, that's a compelling narrative. But in execution, it's become sterile, overly curated, emotionally distant. And the one thing audiences cannot connect with is perfection. With Love, Meghan wasn't just a canceled show. It was a mirror. It reflected every flaw in her strategy. Too much control, not enough truth. The show was meant to be heartfelt and global, but it played like a promo reel. You couldn't feel the food, the culture, the people. All you could see was Meghan, always centered, always pristine. And that's the problem. When you step into someone else's story, you can't make it about you. Authenticity means surrendering a little control, being vulnerable, saying, I don't know, or I'm learning, without spinning it into a TED Talk. But that's not what Meghan gave. She gave polish, scripted insights, and moments that felt more like brand maintenance than emotional exploration. And now, the price of that control is clarity. People just don't know who she really is anymore. Even her most loyal defenders are growing quiet. Not because they've turned on her, but because they're confused. What's the mission now? What's the story? Meghan's royal exit was about finding freedom. But the freedom she chose was to become another product. And that realization stings. Because audiences wanted to believe in her. They wanted to root for her. But now, it feels like every project is another attempt to prove something. When really, the most powerful move would be to stop proving anything at all. In the end, you can't brand your way to authenticity. You have to live it. And if Meghan wants to turn this around, it starts by letting go of the image and getting back to the truth. Until then, the camera may still roll, but the audience won't be watching.